2016, I traveled from Canada to America by bike. From Banff in the Canadian Rockies to Missoula, Montana, we'll survive the ride, a grizzly bear encounter, and Giardia. And all along the way, biking fully self-supported. Over 2 weeks and 600 miles through some of the most beautiful and untouched nature in all of Canada and America. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button, because you're not going to want to miss this 5-part series. This is Getaway. On this trip, I was joined by my parents, and I had convinced them to go on their first ever bikepacking adventure. What a way to start, with one of the most famous and magnificent bikepacking routes in the entire world, the Great Divide. But what is the Great Divide? The Great Divide is the world's longest off-road bike route. From Banff, Canada to the border of Mexico, the route traverses over 2,700 miles and has over 250,000 feet of combined elevation gain. It follows the Continental Divide, which is the dividing line dictating whether water flows east or west. As such, it covers the most stunning and mountainous terrain that North America has to offer. If you're interested in doing this route yourself, I've pinned the map and trip resources below. Now let's start this adventure in the San Francisco Bay Area, where we were getting our gear and bikes together to be shipped off to Canada. I had just graduated high school and was working at a bike shop in Berkeley. Using my discounts, I got all the gear and bikes we would need for the trip. After shipping the bikes off and doing all the planning we could possibly do, we stepped onto a plane to Calgary. Looking back, there were so many months that went into preparing, planning, and gearing up for this trip. But after stepping on that plane, it all became real. We cleared customs and took a rental car to Banff to settle in, check out the area, and pick up our bikes, which had been sent to the local shop to be assembled. Banff National Park and the town of Banff are located in the Canadian Rockies within the province of Alberta. But whoa. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, some history and context. This area was first settled by non-natives in the 1880s after the Transcontinental Railway was built through the Bow Valley. In 1884, the president of the Canadian Pacific Railway Company, George Stephen, named the area Banff, in recollection of his birthplace near Banff, Scotland. Upon the discovery of hot springs in 1885, a federal reserve was established, and the railway began promoting Banff in the area as an international resort and spa. Over the following decades, Banff continued to develop into a major resort town as it flourished from rail traffic and its surrounding natural beauty. The area's internationally recognized status was truly solidified in 1888 upon the completion of the world-famous Banff Springs Hotel, the first of Canada's grand railway hotels. There are countless hikes and excursions around Banff, with the most popular being Lake Louise for its ease of highway accessibility. Lake Louise was an insanely beautiful lake, colored by its glacial runoff, and it was nice to walk around for the day. I will mention that both Banff and Lake Louise were very crowded, and all in all seemed like just really nice places to spend a ton of money. Although I'm happy to share amazing places with other people, safe to say I was excited for the beauty and solitude that the following weeks would offer. While doing my research, I also came across a sobering fact. During the First World War, hundreds of citizen immigrants were made prisoners at Castle Mountain, an internment camp located within Banff National Park. Despite their civilian status, these people, the vast majority of which were Ukrainian, were sent here as forced labor to improve existing facilities, to increase accessibility, and develop park system infrastructure. I think it's important to think of the people who built the roads that you travel on. It would have been a disservice to Banff histories and to their legacy to not include this chapter in my story. Speaking of story, let's get back to Banff where we picked up our bikes, geared up, and are at the trailhead. But before I get too far, let's talk about the fact that once we reached Banff, we almost decided to cancel the whole trip. You see, grizzly bears are everywhere in the Northern Rockies, and they would be throughout the length of the whole trip. Once we got going, there would be points where we were days from the nearest people, and if we had a bear encounter, there could be nowhere to go. And the bikers are especially at risk as there's a chance of attack that comes from startling a bear. When biking through the Rockies, it's easy to come around a corner at speed and startle a bear while it's grazing. Now, it's not like we didn't know this all before we came, but upon arrival, we heard news of multiple bikers having been mauled by bears on that very trail that we were planning to head out on. To be honest, I was scared, and rightfully so, as you'll later see. But having come so far, and after talking to the rangers and gearing up our bikes with bike bells, and equipping ourselves with a satellite beacon, we decided to commit and head out on our first day of biking. The first day, we would ride 26 miles to Spray Lakes West Campground. A lakefront campground within a magnificent mountain valley. After spending a wonderful night at Spray Lakes, we headed along the same mountain valley, 35 miles to Pavement and Bolton Creek Campground. Although we were starting with low miles, this day was hard on all of us as it had started raining and we were still sore from the first one. I should mention that despite our intentions, we had failed to ride a single mile for training before the trip. Not recommended, but we would soon find our place. After a night at Bolton Creek, we packed up and biked along the Pavement to Elks Pass Trailhead, where we continued on to the next stretch of wilderness. It was at Elks Pass Trailhead that I would have a near fatal grizzly bear encounter. But that's too much to get into today. You're gonna have to subscribe and tune in next week, where I tell the story of my grizzly bear encounter and we continue to travel across Canada by bike. If you want to help the channel, make sure you hit that bell down below so you get notified next time I post. Like, comment, share, all these things really do help the YouTube algorithm kind of push me. I'm just getting this started. I'm so stoked for the next 4 episodes. You have no idea. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Going abroad to 5 countries in like a month or so. So getting that already, and I'm about to move out. So just bear with me. Never going to sacrifice quality for quantity though. So as I move forward, definitely trying to keep that upload schedule. But bear that in mind. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you on the next episode of Getaway.